welcome back to Jack of all trades, master of none. It's your host, Hunter Style, the cowboy fan. Don't hold it against me. So, my wife broke the spindle on her John Deere L130, and this is what happened to it. If you'll see right here, it cracked that, and so it was no longer working well. So, we ordered the part. I'm taking the blade off of this, and tonight we're gonna put it back together. And I'm so glad to be back with y'all, and I hope y'all are glad to be back with me. If you're that glad, tell somebody else to subscribe, because all I'm doing is trying to teach somebody, or show somebody, not really teach, but show somebody how to do something that maybe they didn't know. So here we go. We're gonna replace this and get that mower running. Alright, so here I have the spindle that's bad, that's been cracked, and who knows what happened to it. So I'm going to set this over here. And here's our new spindle. So, when you order parts, you got to make sure it's the same part. It has this little block, I don't know what it's called, honestly, but I had to make sure that it was the right spindle. But here's the new one. Then we're going to put the blade back on, and we're going to put it back on the deck. So here we go, and I probably should grease it, because you see this little nipple right here, that's to put grease in it. So I want to make sure that I grease it before I put it on, because if you don't grease it and you run it, then it's going to break again before time that it should have or wouldn't have. So you want to make sure you grease it. I'll show you the gun that I have. I have a little gun. And we'll grease this. And I'm going to say I'm so glad to be back with y'all, and I hope y'all are glad to be back. Alright, so this is the blade that's going back on. As you can see, it's got some chunks out of it on each side, but I told my wife we probably should change the blades, but she's like, it still cuts, and because of this coronavirus, you know, she's not working, and I've had reconstruction surgery, so she's like, it still cuts, put it back. I'm like, okay. So I'm going to take a wire brush at least and clean off some of this stuff that's on it, the old rust and things like that. She's right, it does still work. It does still cut. So I'm just going to clean it up a bit. So I like to do personally, I don't know about you, but when I take the blades off, I like to take them off and lay them down the way they come off, because sometimes it's a little confusing with the dips on each side. But this one you can tell, which I did lay it out right, but I'm just telling you a little trick. You can tell where that block was on it. So I know that this side goes to the spindle, and this is the bottom side. So we're going to put this on. We're going to grease up the spindle, and then we're going to put it on the deck. Alright, so I don't know, it was a little faster in time lapse, but the nut came out of the little hole where I was putting the screw in. Had to push it back, make sure that stays in. I got the grease gun, pumped it like 25-30 times. I didn't see any grease coming out anywhere, which usually that's your cue, but I didn't. But I think 25-30 times is probably pretty good. So now I am going to take it off. We're going to put it on the deck, screw it down, secure it, and put the pulley on it, and get ready to put the deck back on to the mower. So to put the blade onto the spindle, it was a metric 14. To put the bolts on that go into the spindle and attach it to the deck are 13. I'll be using my ratchet wrench, air wrench, instead of the gun, because my gun is a 1/2 inch drive and my ratchet wrench is a 3/8. So, but 14 to put the bolts in on the blade, and then a 13 metric to put the bolts in on the deck. So as you can see, I put the spindle back on and then I put the pulley back on. I use this big old screwdriver to hold the pulley as I'm tightening, because if you don't, it'll just spin and it won't tighten up the nut. So next thing is I have to get the mower in here and put the deck on and put the belt, well, the belt's on the deck, but put it on and it should work. We should be in business, so here we go. Alright, so the next thing is my wife took the covers off that go over the belts on the side. So we're going to put those on. I had to go ask her because the only screws I could find were 5 and we need 7. But one of the covers was missing a couple screws, so I'll have to do that later. But we're going to put the covers on, and then I'm going to try to slide it on underneath right here and put the deck back on. So here we go. So the screws on the tops are 8mm. If you're not learning anything from this video, you'll know that everything's millimeters. So the next problem might be, I don't know if you can see, but I'll try to get you close to see. Sorry. Down on the bottom there's got some brackets right here. So you might want to tie them up, or just figure out, if you're by yourself, how to get them in, because they get hung up when you're trying to push the deck across. So as you watch this next one, it may be a little rough for me, but so you want to put those up so you can slide the deck across, and then we'll attach those arms to the deck and put the front belt on the rod that goes on the front, and we should be ready to go. Alright, so since I'm doing this by myself and I can't hold those bars up that I showed you a while ago, I had some extra just copper wire. It's stranded. I'm going to tie them up. I already tied one up, so I'm going to tie them up and then slide the deck through so that we can hook up the deck. Okay, so it's been a little bit between what you saw last and now, but we did get the deck on the L130 John Deere. I'm going to try to show you, sorry. It is attached. I hope you can see that. And it's another successful build for Tejana style. So, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to try to check and watch every Saturday. I'm getting a little better. I missed yesterday, but I'm dropping it tonight. And again, I'm going to say I'm so glad to be back, and I hope you're glad to be back with me. So, tell your friends about it, and I hope you're learning something. There is a spindle rebuild on the L130 John Deere, and we appreciate you. Put a like, and let's do this.